What are
Okay,
you from?
well,
You're from Australia?
I'm in Australia, in Sydney, and I'm speaking to you from the future because it's already Wednesday here. And Audun is joining us from Norway, and it's nearly the future because it's midnight where he is.
Yeah.
Hmm. That's cool. Yeah, you're our first international guest.
Well, I'll try to live up to the hype then.
All right.
Amazing.
Okay, Nate, I think we're going to get started.
Yeah, absolutely. So, everyone, thank you so much for coming. This is the Babson Sales Club. All right, our goal here on campus is to facilitate sales activities, sales workshops, and interactive sessions like this. Today will be interactive. You will have the opportunity to ask questions as well as to participate, and you'll get some free food. So I appreciate you for coming. We'll get to that in about 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And yeah, so I'm the senior advisor to the sales club. I'm graduating soon. So I'll be actually working in technology sales in Boston. So if you have questions about that, I'd be happy to talk about that. Dooley here is the president, and we are joined by some of our other e-board as well. And yeah, I'm just excited to get into this talk. Peter is someone I've been talking with for the last maybe month, and we've been discussing putting together this workshop, bringing his value as a sales consultant leader to Babson. I'm going to let him give his intro and backstory, but kind of the gist is he works all across the world. He works in Australia and also consults with companies here in the US, teaching B2B sales mostly. And today's session will focus on kind of why we all suck at sales and why we need to up our game, and why, tactics of the past, you're living in 1999, that's not working anymore. No more hard dials and what's it, closing, there's a mantra like about
Closing techniques.
yeah,
Always
yeah.
ABC. Yeah.
Yeah, always be closing, right? Those people we're past that now. Sales is a different beast today. So yeah, without further ado, I'll let you pull up any slides you have and go ahead and just give your story. But yeah, thanks so much for joining us. And I'm gonna turn the camera around, guys, so he's gonna see you. So
Yes.
yeah, don't be shy, guys.
So I want to see if you're falling asleep. That's why we're turning the camera around. All
yeah,
right.
here.
I'm just going to do a quick intro and a few slides. It's not going to be War and Peace. Don't worry. We're going to make this interactive as we can, and I want you to get ready to ask questions later because we're counting on you to participate. So, Nate, can you see the slide?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, good, excellent. So as it says there, I'm a international specialist, and I particularly work with business owners and sales leaders in B2B services and technology companies that include SaaS. In 2021, I was voted as one of the 15 top sales experts in Australia. In 2024, Salesforce named me one of 27 top sales influencers globally. And I've written 2 books, one called The One Team Method, which is a methodology to bring sales and marketing onto the same team, hence the name. And followed up by another book called Smarketing, Sell Smarter, Not Harder, which is basically saying that sales and marketing needs to come out of their silos. They need to work together, and we can do that magically, simply by letting them not focus on what we're selling, but focus on our customer. And that brings us together automatically because we have the same objective. All right, so that's enough about me. Here we go. I put this up front because normally people put their offer at the end, and then half the people have left the room or left the online show. So I'm just saying, if what I'm going to be talking about today, you can actually test your own selling, and if you're not yet selling, you can test yourself in terms of how you would sell by going to peterstrohkorb.com/sales-checklist. It's a 5-minute online self-assessment. It helps you to understand what you would be already doing right in terms of selling and where you still have, let's say, opportunities for development. And it also gives you a score. So it doesn't cost anything. It's free, and it's fast, and it's super insightful for you. So check it out. All right. Now, I want to see some hands. You're very small there on the screen, but I want you to stick your hands right up if you know what this is. In the room as well, stick your hands up. You know I can see you, right? Okay, so this is the old, some people call it the traditional sales funnel. You know, we stick leads into the top. We we nurture them. We hand them over to sales once marketing feels they're ready. They're called marketing generated leads versus sales accepted leads, which is a whole contentious issue that I won't go into today. Then we advance the sale, we negotiate, and ka-chink, ka-chink, we close the sale and money drops out the bottom. That's the traditional sales funnel, right? And most organizations in the world still use this model. So in order to get leads into the top, traditionally we use, you know, cold calls, or maybe this time around even warm calls, emails, and LinkedIn. Yeah, would you agree? So that's the three most used methods in terms of outbound selling. I'm not talking about inbound right now. I'm just talking about outbound. So let me ask you this. Again, audience participation, please stick your hands up. Do you enjoy being cold called? No, I can't see any hands going up.
Anyone enjoy it?
And here's a damning statistic. Less than 2% convert to an actual meeting. So that means you got out of 100 calls that you make, you might get 2 meetings. That doesn't mean 2 sales. It means 2 meetings, right? And the last statistic I could find was from 2007. There must be some later one, but I couldn't find it. And it said it took, sorry, it's going back to 2007. It took nearly 4 calls to get a meeting. And in 2017, when this statistic came out, it was 8 calls. And now you do cold calling, so or you do warm calling. So how many calls does it take to get an appointment?
To me?
I do. Yeah.
Well, depend on what I'm working with. It's as I'm working with the different offerings and
Give me a number.
solutions.
You can give me a range.
5, I presume. Yeah, 5. Yeah.
Okay. So it's still not good. Okay. Who likes to be spammed with cold emails? No one. And it's a fact that we now get more than 120 emails a day. Some of us get a lot more, and they're not all useful, are they? And then there's a term that you may have heard, pitch slapping on social media, which is when somebody reaches out to you to connect with you on LinkedIn and so says, you know, oh, we've got some contacts in common, let's connect. And you go, innocently you go, okay, well, I'll connect with you. And then immediately they slap you with a pitch. That's seeing that no hand went up, I can tell that none of you enjoy that either. So why do it? Why do something that nobody tolerates any longer? So I want to come back to the sales funnel. And this is where it gets really interactive. I want you to call out to Nate what year you think this sales funnel model was first invented. Over to you.
Anyone? Any guess on what year you think this was invented? I heard 2000.
Earlier.
Okay. 1930. Throwback. Earlier. Yes. 1850. I don't even know if they had light bulbs then. That's crazy.
That's not a bad guess, because it was 1898. And it was invented by an American, of course. But it was invented around the same time when the first automobiles came out. Yeah. This model that we're still using today was invented 127 years ago. Now we've improved it with technology, and we can do it now automated. We've improved it now with AI, big eye roll here. But essentially, we're still using a 19th century model. Who knew that? Okay, now who's surprised by that? Stick your hands up. Right, thank you. Okay, so as I said, it was the first automobile. That's what a family looked like in 1898, and that's when it was invented. Okay, so what's wrong with it? Why doesn't it work any longer? It doesn't work any longer because it's actually focusing on what we're selling and how we want to sell it. So it's focusing on our products and services, and it's focused on our sales process instead of focusing on the buyer and the buyer's buying process. Now, I can talk to you about the buying process because not every buyer has a buying process, but they have one even if they don't know what it looks like. So what happens is that we've actually trained our sales team to focus on our pipeline, our forecast, our products, our features, our price, and the buyer kind of has become, inadvertently probably, but the buyer has become a bit of an afterthought. I spent 25 years in multinational organizations, and to me, it always felt like the buyer was kind of this pesky obstacle to a sale. You know, they were getting in the way of me hitting my target, and that just doesn't wash anymore in 2025. Because buyers no longer want to be squeezed into your sales process. Round peg, square hole, round peg. They want you to treat them as though they're important, lo and behold. So hands up, who wants to feel important when they're being sold, when they're buying something? Yeah, don't we all? And I'll tell you now that buyers want not to be sold to or pitched at. What they want is they want to be helped to make the right buying decision. Yeah. So you imagine. How do I get back out of this? Oh yeah, here we go. So you imagine. I'm just going to stop sharing for a minute. You imagine you're a buyer, right? And you want to make, say, an important purchase, particularly in B2B. So if it involves a high value item, you know, big dollars involved. If it involves a 3 to 5 year contract, so you're actually buying a relationship, you're not buying a product or a service, right? If it is like a high risk item that if you get it wrong, then bad things will happen, right? Your buyers will be pretty damn scared getting this wrong, because nobody wants to be responsible for making the wrong decision. If you're working for a B2B business, you don't want to get in trouble with the boss. What you're looking forward to is a bit of a pat on the back saying, Peter, well done, great decision, and not to be condemned for doing the wrong thing and buying the wrong service or product. In the process, I'm worried that I might ruin my professional reputation, that I might not get my bonus, or worse, lose my job. And that if I lose my job, I won't find another job, and I'll can't feed my family. And so you can imagine there's a lot of pressure on the buyer to do the right thing and make the right buying decision. So what buyers want is they want not a salesperson really. What they want is somebody who can help them make the right decision, and they want to feel like you're on their side, not you're just trying to ram a product or a service down their throat. So this whole idea about pitching a product is really just bothering the buyers. And I want to talk to you about psychology for a second. Who's heard of in the brain, there's something called the amygdala. Who's heard of that? Okay. Yeah. The amygdala controls your fight and flight response. So this is the ancient part of the brain that's still around from when we were living in caves and wearing loincloths. And it basically says if there's a threat to us, we want to get ready to fight. or we want to get ready to run away. So there's been studies done. When people get sales pitched, when somebody's trying to sell you and you're not ready and you haven't accepted you haven't actually invited them to pitch to you, your amygdala kicks in because you feel ambushed. And your instinctive reaction is to either fight them or to run away. And this happens to us every day through cold calls, emails, pitch slapping. And so our buyers have become really overwhelmed with all these offers, and the amygdala is constantly firing, so that when the next sales pitch comes along, they say, no matter what you're selling, I'm not interested, bugger off. Which makes it actually difficult for salespeople to engage because they've been told they have to pitch and make 100 calls a day to find the two buyers that may be interested in what we're selling. But in effect, what we're doing is we're actually ruining the sales game for everyone out there, for every seller out there, because we're training our buyers to just run away. But we can't do this any longer. This is bullshit. So you are just learning sales. So please keep this in mind, that hitting up unsuspecting prospects with unsolicited sales pitches is a road to nowhere. Nobody likes to be pitched at. I'm going to go back to the slides. Oh, wrong slide, sorry. Okay, so what we need to do is stop focusing on what we're selling, which is what every sales leader will tell you at the moment. And we need to focus on the buyer and how they want to buy from us. We need to focus on helping them to make the right decision. We need to focus on, figuratively speaking, putting our arms around the buyer and saying, I'm on your side, I'm here to help you make the right decision. And there is an upgrade path. It's called the buyer-focused sales funnel, which is quite different from the model from 1898. And it has 10 competencies, 6 for the top of the funnel, 2 for the middle, and 3 for the bottom of the funnel. So we need to focus on our buyers. So speaking of which, we're a little bit early. I'll actually invite some questions before we go to the food.
Yeah, I'll kick us off with a quick question. So let's say you're in a sales organization that's very seller product focused, still stuck in 1898, which is blowing my mind that that's how long ago that was invented. How would someone go about maybe taking a more buyer focused approach and talking with leadership within that organization to kind of shift their strategy? I mean,
okay, so you're saying you're working in an organization that's still trying to squeeze people down the 1898 version of the sales funnel.
Yeah, and are there kind of practical ways to just become more of a buyer-focused seller in that environment?
Okay, so the challenge will be if you try to drive change from the bottom up, you're going to hit up against the sales leader, against the CEO, against the board, and against the shareholders who all want you to sell more and as fast as possible, right? There's a great saying I heard that nobody wants to change the tires on the car while it's moving. So your sales companies and your typical sales company is so focused on hitting their targets, their goals, their quota by the end of the month, by the end of the quarter, by the end of the year, that they have just trapped themselves into short-term thinking. Quick, get that sale, which then instills a behavior into the salespeople that passes the pressure on to the buyer and go, close that sale, buy my shit. And as I outlined, nobody wants to be sold to like this any longer. So what it actually takes is a realization, and I'm trying to me and some other prominent sales leaders, sales experts are trying to start a trend that says, look, You can't keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. So the best thing that your example could do is get in touch with one of the sales experts that talk about modern selling and get help, try to get them to convince the hierarchy that keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. We know what that's like, right?
Yeah.
So I advise you not to fight that fight by yourself, because you're going to get a bloody forehead bashing your head against the brick wall. But if you point to world's best practice in modern selling, you might get some attention. If you want to start a kind of a pilot in your organization, a trial, maybe for 3 or 6 months, depending on the length of your sales cycle, you might convince the leader that might just want to give this a go. But I tell you now, they're so stressed on the last 3 days of each month that they're probably not going to listen to you, and that's just reality. You got to get change from the top down. Good question. Does anybody have another one? Yes, please.
It's not contacting people through emails, phone calls, and LinkedIn. How can we start the communication?
Did you catch that?
I couldn't hear that name.
Yeah, so if you're not starting the sales conversation through cold email, through phone call, and through LinkedIn, kind of what other methods are there to
great question. Thank you for that. What's your name?
Yes.
It's Missy.
Missy. Thank you, Missy. That was an excellent question. Thank you for asking it. So the way I teach my clients to start a sales conversation is not by pitching your product or service, but to have done your homework on at least their industry, your buyer's industry, if not their organization, if not them personally. And you can do all that with AI now. So you can dig actually quite deeply, quite quickly by going through AI and finding some information about them online, right? But at the very least, you should be familiar with their industry, and you should be familiar with the trends in that industry and the challenges of that industry. From that, you should be able to formulate some piece of information that they didn't know, right? So if you are going to be helping them to buy, they would expect you to be some sort of expert that can help them make the right decision. So you should, because they expect you to be an expert, they expect you to know more about what you're selling and about the industry and about the trends than they do. Because otherwise they can't learn from you and you can't add value. So what I talk about is creating what I call a lean forward moment. When you say something that intrigues them and they lean forward and they say, Missy, tell me more about that. How does that work? What did you mean by that? Could that work for my business? And the secret behind the lean forward moment is that they probably don't realize it, but the moment they ask you a question like that, they've given you permission to sell and they've given you permission to talk about your organization, about your products and your services, but not before. So I talk about earning the right to sell by intriguing them and asking you a question. So what could you intrigue them with? Well, if you're talking to a senior executive buyer, there are 3 ways to get their interest. And the 3 ways are either you make them aware of a revenue or a business opportunity that they didn't know they had. So you say, did you know that this trend is happening and therefore there's an opportunity for organizations like yours to expand into this area or to increase your revenue in this area. The second way is to make them aware of a risk that they didn't know they were exposed to. So basically help them to avoid making a mistake. They'll be grateful for you helping them bring They'll be grateful for you bringing them another business opportunity, and they'll be grateful for you to help them avoiding making a mistake. Immediately, you're demonstrating that you're on their side. You're doing them a favor up front. Now, both those ways work well, but they're hard because you got to know the industry, you got to know the organization, you got to maybe even know something about the person, the buyer. And that means you got to do your homework, and it's quite labor intensive, so that you've got to spend a bit of time before you talk to the person, right? It also helps if when you reach out to them for the first time that they've heard of you before, that you're not some unknown sales rep that interrupts their day, but that you introduce yourself or your organization, they've heard of you. So having content out there that's that pertains to their industry or their business, having some sort of thought leadership, having a point of view, and because they want to see you as an expert, it's okay for you to have a point of view, even if the point of view is a bit controversial. In fact, I like controversy because people go, what? and they get engaged right away, right? Or informative. So something they didn't know. So the third way is far easier and more scalable. And that is by helping them to understand through insights, through thought leadership, by guiding their thinking, that they actually have a need for the thing that you're selling. So now how I gave you the link to the self-assessment, the sales self-assessment, just my second slide in, yeah. That's one way that I create intrigue with my prospects, because once they've got the score, most of them want to know, what can I do about it? How can I improve my score, or how can I translate what I said in the assessment into my business? What does it actually mean? How do I go about it? How do I do it? And so they then book a call with me, and we have a confidential and one-on-one. I call it information call. It's not a sales call; it's an information call. So they can decide whether this is something that they can ask questions, they can find out more, and they can decide whether it's something that they could be interested in or not. And I'm just going to digress for a little second. For those people that don't feel ready to talk to me personally because either they fear being sold to, or they fear that they might ask me a dumb question and look silly in the process, for them, I'm actually a client myself. So you can go to the website and look for, and the website is peterstrohkorb.com, and look for a tab called Ask Peter. Ask Peter. And Ask Peter is my AI alter ego, and he will answer your sales questions as though you're asking me. But you don't have to worry about me trying to pitch you or sell you something. And you can ask all the dumb questions you like, nobody will know. So I actually encourage my clients to go to Ask Peter first, and then when they feel ready to talk to me, because it's a much better conversation when they do. So that's just a little digression. So I hope, Missy, that answered your question.
Thank you very much.
Yes, she thanked you. Sorry, I have to translate everything.
No, please do. That's fine now. All right. So why don't we go to the little exercise? Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Come on. Here we go. Okay. So over food, and apparently there's food for 30 people, and there's only 20 of you. So help yourself.
No, we got like 26 or 27 now. So
Oh, okay. So there's only one burger for a person, each person.
Yeah,
okay.
one burger per person, guys.
And June and I will have a virtual burger.
Yeah.
So I want you to choose a learning partner. So that I'm most likely the person sitting next to you. Yeah. Do it now. Choose somebody.
Partner up, everyone.
And and over food while you're chewing, I'd like you to discuss what makes a horrible seller. So what's a bad version of a salesperson, given what I've just told you for the last half hour? And we're going to hear your thoughts afterwards. And yeah, let's do that first. Okay, so enjoy your meal, and we'll come back in. What do you say, Nate?
Yeah, we'll come back in like probably like 8 minutes. And also I invite anyone who wants to come ask a question to come up here. I'll put the hot seat up here in front of the camera. So if anyone wants to come ask Peter a question in the meantime, then you are.
Yeah, now you're going to scare them.
See me? Yeah, I know. It's a hot seat, though. It's like it has to be. But yeah. So guys, please help yourself to food back here. It's fresh enough that only showed up 30 minutes ago, so should still be good to go.
Well,
yeah.
Thank you, guys.
No, thank you. And we'll be back in 8 minutes. Yeah.
And so Nate, you've placed yourself in the hot seat there.
Yeah, I'm in the hot seat, but anyone have any questions?
Yeah, I do actually.
Yeah, here, take the hot seat.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah. And just speak to him. Make sure he can hear you well.
And tell me your name first.
My name is Ted, and I just have a question concerning
No, I can't really hear him, Nate.
Yo, okay,
here,
let's try it at the table. We need the table. That's fine. You can take the table. Here, we'll put the hot seat here, and then like this.
Yeah.
Okay, so hi, my name's Ted. I don't know if you can hear me or not. Can you hear me?
No, Ted, that's much better. Thank you.
Okay, so my girlfriend's dad has a B2B. He does he has like servers. So basically he holds these servers for like companies, and then like he basically told me that like I can get commission if I can like get his business out there and land him some clients. So I'm kind of wondering like what's the best way to go about that, because I have a sales background. I sell perfumes, but business B2B is like completely different. So maybe
It is
some
completely
advice for
different.
me. Yeah.
That's why I focus on B2B only, because I don't actually understand retail. So I don't want to get into that area.
No worries.
So what does what does that business do?
The business basically just like, so companies pay the business like they send all their data. It's like a cloud computing company. So they basically just hold all like companies like secure data in like a cloud.
Okay.
And I was wondering, like, maybe in the Boston area, because you said that cold approaching and like pitching isn't necessarily the way. So yeah, I was just curious to see like how I should like even start that.
So Nate, if let me just rephrase what you just said. So he has an IT services business.
Yeah.
That basically does backup and restore services for online, like in the cloud, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Now there's thousands of those businesses. Why should anybody pick your dad's?
So that's what I have to figure out. So this is just an idea. It's not my dad's, it's my girlfriend's dad's, but he basically like sent me like a whole paper basically telling me the value proposition of his company, and I just haven't read it yet. So I
okay.
definitely need to get on that.
So let me stop you right there. If the value proposition starts with we or the company name, it's wrong.
Okay.
He should know, and you might want to take notes, or you might want to watch the recording later.
Yeah.
He should know who is our ideal customer.
Yeah.
Right. So what's our ideal customer profile? What type of businesses are we predominantly selling to? What type of businesses are most likely to buy from us?
Yeah.
So focus. Don't say, we sell to anybody, because then you compete with everyone.
Okay.
So if how big's the business? Is it only small?
It's a pretty big business. They've got multiple clients. They have like over like 50 hospitals using their servers in Mexico. So
Good.
yeah,
Okay.
just trying to expand the market.
So let's say one of the value propositions is specifically to the health and hospital sector.
Yeah.
So by the way, I forgot to mention, it's okay to have multiple ideal customer profiles, but then you've got to have a value proposition for each profile.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
So let's stick with the hospital example.
Yeah,
Why do the hospitals buy your girlfriend's dad's services?
because it's very secure. 24/7. Like they maintain the websites, the servers. So it's like
Yeah.
they always have someone like working on it. Like it's very flexible. They have very fast like response times. Like someone will phone them in and then they'll get like, something resolved like much quicker than other companies. And
Okay,
cheaper.
so there you go. It's specialist service for a
Yeah,
specialist industry,
yeah,
right? Catering specifically to that sector. You don't have to mention that they also serve other sectors, but
yeah.
you just talk about hospitals, right?
Hmm.
And you can probably say we've got how many hospitals? 50?
50, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we're already serving 50 hospitals. So choosing us, it's not going to be a big risk to you because we've already proved that we know what we're doing in the 50 other hospitals. So you can safely become the 51st, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So then you might have some testimonials,
Okay.
yeah, some success stories. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to teach you my 3-step storytelling formula.
Yeah.
So what people want to know is, is your product the right for me?
Yeah.
Are you going to embarrass me having made the decision to go with you? Are you going to let me down? Right?
Yeah.
And and will I look good making the decision to go with you? Right? Will my boss like me? Will they pat me
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
back?
Yeah.
All right. So what I want you to do is to talk about your value proposition. So you say specialist in the hospital sector.
Mhm.
Already got 50 hospitals that we service.
Yeah.
It's low risk, and our customers love us because we are very stable, we're flexible, we give them good service, and they love us, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So then you follow up with a story, and then the story might look like something, and I'm going to make it up totally, right? But you pick a true one,
Yeah.
and you say, actually, your hospital reminds me of Boston Hospital, where they had a provider that constantly let them down, and it made the doctors look bad. It made the patient experience was horrible, and it delayed everything, and people were super frustrated that they couldn't
Yeah.
get work done. Right? So when they switched to my girlfriend's dad's services, what happened was instantly everything became organized. The files were accessible 24/7. There was no downtime, and the staff was much happier, and there was much less frustration, and the patients were happy because they got good service,
Yeah.
right? So 3-step storytelling formula. This is what our client looked like. This is what they experienced when we first met them.
Yeah.
Horror.
Yeah.
Bad stuff happens, right?
Yeah.
This is what we did for them. Yeah.
Okay.
And this is what changed for them.
Okay.
So the 3-step
So
storytelling formula.
so we list the problem. Sorry to interrupt. I'm just trying to like you list the problem, we list how we fix the problem, and like and then you list sorry, what was the third point you had?
Yeah, almost. So you don't list the problem, you list the experience that your customer had when you first met them. Like
Okay.
all the bad stuff that happened to them, all the frustrations, all the delays, all the costs that they incurred, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Then in step 2, you say, this is what we did for them. So we implemented our service.
Okay.
And step 3 is, this is what changed for our client after we deployed our service.
Okay. Awesome.
Right?
Awesome. That's really helpful.
And you're just by telling the story, you won't feel like you're selling to them, and they won't feel like they're being sold to because you're just telling them a story that they can identify with because they're in the same boat, hopefully.
So a lot of it is just like almost tricking the buyer into like not like
No, okay, get that out of your brain.
Okay.
You're not tricking the buyer, you're helping them.
You're right, yeah. So it's not even like so it's just a different mindset. Like it's
You're
just
not selling, you're helping. Yeah.
yeah, you're helping. Okay. That's really I think yeah. I feel like most successful salespeople are the ones that can like find like sell based off emotion and like find like you know what I'm trying to say, like find solutions to people's problems.
Yeah. And I was going to say that I wrote an article a couple of weeks, 3 weeks ago about building trust in buyers. Because
Yeah.
everybody says you should be a trusted advisor,
Hmm.
but you don't become a trusted advisor overnight.
Yeah.
It takes time to build the trust. But in my article I said you don't actually need trust to be able to reach out to people, because at the first point of contact there's 3 steps. So there's 3 steps to building trust.
Yeah.
Number one is you got to impress them with the fact that you know your shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Right? So
Yeah.
you know what you're talking about, and you know more than they do.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? So respect,
Okay.
right? Competence is the first step.
Yeah.
Then you got to earn their respect with your competence,
Okay.
and you do that by helping them to understand stuff that they didn't know,
Okay.
right? And stuff that affects them, stuff that's important to them.
Yeah.
Right? And then once you demonstrate that you have competence and they get your respect, then you'll be on the way to earning that trust. And as I said, figuratively putting your arms around them and say, "Let me help you make the right
Yeah.
decision."
Okay.
So get this
Yeah.
get this out of your mind that you're tricking them. You're not tricking them.
You're helping them.
If you think you're tricking them, they will notice that, right? And you lose respect even before you've gone to trust, right?
Okay. Yeah.
But if in your mind you're just helping them make the right decision, they'll stay with you.
Awesome. Yeah. I really appreciate the insight because it's just a mindset change, I think, for selling. Like you're just trying to help people out.
And I'd love to instill that mindset shift in a lot of sales leaders, because it'll just make everything better in the organization. Nobody will be stressed to their eyeballs anymore with hitting the targets at the end of the month. The customers won't feel pressured, and people won't. There's a lot of churn in the sales industry, where people start a job and then 6 months later they're gone again, and then
Yeah.
then the hiring manager has to start again from scratch, right? So that's a horrible situation to be in, and it'll be a much happier world for everybody if the seller started helping instead of.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you for taking the time to explain that to me. Thank
All
you.
right, now thank you for being brave and taking the hot seat.